All right, every now and then you get a chance to interview a spiritual gangster. And today we've got Kristine. Kristine, tell everyone who you are.
Hi. Well, it's great to be here, Chris. It's really, really fun to get out and tell people what do I mean by spiritual gangster and who am I? Well, with a name like Genovese, I got to work that, you know. Believe it or not, true story. I come by the name spiritual gangster, honestly. My great uncle, okay, not my great grandpa, but my great uncle was Vito Genovese, one of the auspicious heads of the five crime families in New York City.
That's awesome.
So I know, kind of cool, right? So I'm bringing some new zhuzh to the name Kristine Genovese.
So talk a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, I have a proprietary method called the soul intelligence method. And what that does is it gets to the underlying root cause of what's causing dysfunction or disease or dissonance in your frequency in your body. So when somebody gets sick, they don't feel right. Typically, mentally and emotionally, they're not doing great either. And so my method actually helps me figure out what is that, stuck trauma or repeating pattern or self-limiting belief or negative energies, emotions, all that stuff that gets stuck in our subconscious mind. I'm able to use my method to bring that up and out with someone not having to relive all the trauma that caused the hurt in the first place, like, being in years and years of therapy.
So if you had a chance to interview or sit down and give a session to your Uncle Genovese, the gangsta,
I talked to him, believe it or
what?
not.
Oh, is he still alive?
Energetically, no, he's not. He's been gone a long time. But energetically, you can actually, I guess there is a little bit of mediumship to what I do, but you can talk to people that have passed on the other side.
And what do you talk to him about?
Well, I talked to him, first of all, I talked to him about using the name and the handle spiritual gangster and how did he feel about that.
How did
Um,
how did he feel about it?
He actually loved it. He thought, you know what, you're going to bring some new energy to the name and really show, because when you think about how what happened in New York City, right? The mafia or the La Cosa Nostra started to really protect their own people, right? When they emigrated to this country, they looked out for mothers and orphans and things like that. And naturally, they got really good at business and got into things that morphed into, what it's known for today. But the crux of it at the beginning was they were trying to do good for their own people. And so he felt like I would be getting back to the roots of truly what was foundational, which is helping people heal, taking care of others, healing others.
So how do you start off with somebody? What are some of the things that you do?
Well, the coolest thing is you don't have to do anything. When I do a session, I typically do it over Zoom, kind of like how we're doing our podcast today, because everybody and everything is energy, right? So I can't tell you how this internet thing works, but I know we're transferring energy and somehow we're able to talk to each other and see each other. So the first thing is getting people to understand, this is not, hocus pocus. This is actual real science, and it's quantum science, and it's how our bodies react to energy. That's why we're very sensitive to vibration and sound. You can't hear, the music. I mean, you can hear the music, you can't see the music. It's the same concept,
You have
right?
music playing in the background?
I do.
I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, I thought I had my alarm clock on somewhere in the house. I was like, wait a second, where do I hear that song?
I'm sorry. Typically, when I do sessions, I have high vibrational music on, so I'll turn it down a little
Oh, no,
bit.
no,
But
that's fine. I actually thought it was,
okay,
I thought it was here. I was like, did I turn something on? Is,
sorry about that. I
is that your
typically
book?
have that on because I want to shift my vibration quickly.
Is that your book, by the way?
It is my book over my shoulder. It is Healing Through Soul Intelligence. As a matter of fact, my book just made the LA Tribune's bestseller list.
Wait a,
Um, isn't that awesome? Yeah, right before the holidays.
when did
Uh,
you write it?
when did I write it? I wrote it this year. It came
Oh,
out in October. Uh-huh. And like I said, sorry, on the LA Tribune's bestseller list. It's available on Amazon, Audible. I actually recorded that out in LA, so it's my voice
Oh, that's
delivering
awesome.
the
Yeah, I
version.
love Audible.
Isn't that great? And then it's also on Barnes and Noble and Ingram Sparks. So it's pretty much anywhere you can get it, and my website, of course. But yeah, it has a whole bunch of cool case studies in it. But you asked me about how do I do a session. So basically, we set up a Zoom. I do what I call setting up a sacred space, which is making sure that anything that needs to move, shift, or clear gets transmuted back, to source as opposed, or the divine, whatever you want to call it, as
What do you
opposed
mean?
to a
What do you
person.
mean? What do you mean it's space? Like, are you talking about furniture or are you talking about what?
Just talking about here, like energetically when I'm sitting here with you,
Okay.
right? I might put high vibe music on. I might, just want to get us like centered and get our energy aligned and be in, communion with one another in essence. Getting my guides in line, your guides in line, so that everybody's focused on the work that needs to get done. Because one of the things that people have to remember is once energy's created, you can't destroy it. You can't get rid of it. It has to transmute into something else. And so one of the basic tenets is emotion is energy in motion. When emotion pools in the body, okay, doesn't it gets stuck, then that's when it causes the dis-ease or the dysfunction or the dissonance in your frequency, and you have to do something about it. So like every root cause, I was working with a client earlier today, and she's been suffering from glaucoma, and her husband's been suffering from Parkinson's disease. And so she's under tremendous stress. And I said, okay, so glaucoma, the root of it is you're blinding yourself in essence because you don't want to see your life the way it is. And her knees have also been giving out. And I said, okay, so you got to look at that too. Your knees are all about flexibility and dealing with family issues. And I go, and that's what you're dealing with. So it's really fascinating when you get to the underlying root cause of what's causing the dysfunction in the body, because the body is really that barometer of our subconscious mind, which is running the show 95% of the time, right? 5% is all we use in our conscious mind for all that thinking and strategizing and planning and analyzing. And that's where we spend most of our time. Isn't that crazy?
So is most of your job almost like psychological, where you're literally helping people understand challenges that are in their mind?
Um, I wouldn't call it necessarily psychological. I think it's working on the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, and shifting that energy up and out of those spaces
What
so
do you
that they're
what do
more
you
in
do for people
alignment with their
physically?
soul, their higher purpose, who they really are. And it helps them to better able function. So like a lot of the people I partner with are healthcare professionals, right?
Okay.
So doctors, okay?
Okay.
And so I always tease them and say, well, you only refer me your hot mess patients, because when you go to the doctor's office, right, you show up and you don't talk about what's just physically wrong. You're talking about what's going on at home, what's going on at work, what's going on with the kids, what's going on in my life, right? Because stress is one of those major factors that cause people to have dis-ease within their body.
Can you
And so I'm who they call in to help shift all the mental and emotional stuff around what they're trying to heal in the physical in particular.
What do you do for people physically?
What do I do for them physically? So, um, you know, when we talk about the body, right, and what's in the body, let's talk about the stomach. Because in functional medicine, typically when you go to the doctor, a functional medicine doctor is looking at the whole person, okay? The whole, not just like I'm a heart guy, right? I'm looking at the whole body and what's going on. And so everything begins and ends in the gut. Even Socrates said that like 5,000 years ago. So they usually start by healing the gut. And the reason why they do that is that's where we produce most of our serotonin, like our happy hormones. That's where we got good bugs, that help us heal, and bad bugs that make us sick. There's
Okay.
tons of bugs in our gut, and not everybody's aware of that, right? So typically they start with the gut. The other reason they start with the gut from an energetic perspective is the stomach does, first of all, two things. It stores food and processes food. It is also where we store emotion and process our emotion. So if you've ever looked at like the seven chakras in your body, the third chakra is your solar plexus. And that's how you feel about yourself in the world. That's like your self-esteem. How do you show up? Your identity. And if you think about when something goes wrong in your life, it's like, ugh, the punch in the gut, right? Or,
Yep.
oh, great, I got the butterflies, and it's in the stomach. So that's really where we start with those emotions. And then if we don't deal with them, we don't process them, we push them down, and it causes other things to go awry in the body.
So
So
what
what
do
I
you what do you physically do for people with the gut? Like, what do you do to them physically to get that process started?
So, in terms of physical, we hold on to energy in the physical body, right? So, I might be clearing the stomach as an organ, like actually shifting energy up and out of the organ, right, in your stomach. It might be your GI tract, so it might be more parts, than we look at.
But how do you
Um,
keep that energy? How do you like move it?
how do I do it? How I do everything is I have a book of charts and a
Okay.
pendulum. And
And
so, a pendulum, which is just this little, so
you
this
got
is
one
me.
nearby?
Nope, this is me holding a pendulum in my book. I don't know if you can see, but you see it's just a little
Like a
jewel
bead,
at the
like a
end
little
of a,
bead? Okay, I see it.
it's like a stone that's on a chain,
Okay.
and that allows me to move, hold the chain and allow it to move across the charts so I know exactly what to shift. So I've got charts on the physical body. I've got charts on emotions. I've got
You,
charts on
you create
self-limiting beliefs, patterns.
you create a chart for each person?
Nope, the charts are created.
Okay.
What? So
Do you have a
there's
chart nearby?
I do have charts right here.
Let's take a look.
Dun 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 dun. This is the Soul Intelligence Method. This is my book
Okay.
of charts. And so when people are interested, I mean, really, my ultimate goal is to get more people to learn this method so that they can help others heal. Because obviously, I'm only one person. Um, but we start off with a chart that's really a table of contents. So this probably doesn't look like much to you, but it basically tells me which chart to start with. And it's where you always go back to the beginning. So it's like a table of contents. And I have about 40 different charts. So everything from core challenges you face in your life, it might be like an integrity issue or a control and power issue. Then I'm able to research who are the characters in the play that cause the hurt or harm, right? Is this a spouse? Is this a work issue? And then I shift the energies. So whether that's anxiety, insecurity, all of that kind of stuff. There lots of different emotions come up and blocks to positive emotions. I've got charts on patterns, right? We sometimes hold roles or patterns in our life that keep us locked in
What do you
and
mean
not.
when you say patterns?
So like an archetype, like a slave, right? I feel like a slave at work, or
Okay.
a teacher. That's a helpful archetype. Maybe like you're a mentor to others. So there's always a light side and a shadow side to an archetype or a pattern. And so it's just whether it's serving you or not, and being able to shift up and out of that. A lot of, I think post-COVID, so many people became more aware of like mental health awareness, right?
Yeah.
Because being isolated, and one of the number one illnesses that came out after that period of time is depression. And if you think about it, if you go to the doctor and somebody's trying to work with you and you're really depressed, it's a lot harder to heal,
That is
right? So yeah, right. Because you can't get out. So one of the things people have to remember is everything starts on the inside, internally, as an intention, a thought, an idea. And so when we can change our internal condition, we can really affect the external and even the physical, because everything starts inside first. Does that
that's
make
all.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I know. Now you're like, dang, I want a session, Kristine.
Yeah, how many people have you had go through your sessions with you?
Oh my goodness. I've been doing this for a little while, so I would say hundreds at
Oh,
this point.
that's awesome.
Maybe thousands, maybe
And
that,
then
maybe
you
close
have
to.
case studies in your book where you use
Yeah,
examples of people.
absolutely, absolutely, tons of them.
Name three of the most famous people you think you've ever worked with.
Three of the most famous. Well, it's interesting that you asked me that. I don't share who I've worked with, kind of like a doctor, right? That's kind of client privilege. I can talk to you about what happened or their stories, but I can't really name names.
Okay.
Um, Only just because, you don't, it's kind of like the doctor-client privilege. But I'm happy to share like cool stories and stuff if you're interested in wanting to know, like how somebody's transformed. Like I had, for example, because I do work with healthcare professionals and doctors, I'll talk about I do work on them first before I actually would work with any of their clients or patients, right, or colleagues. And so now I have my own practitioners that have been certified in my method that actually work with the patients because I can't get to everybody. So that's a great problem to have. But when I'm working with a healthcare provider, one comes to mind. She had called and said to me, "Look, I've been struggling with a foot issue where I can't even walk on my foot. And I've also had this cold that won't go away." Which is kind of weird for a doctor, right? You think they'd be able to heal themselves, the only healer, heal yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but she actually, I did a session for her, and during the course of the session, I said, um, what's what's kind of going, it looks like these men are causing you hurt or harm. It looks like it's been going on for a good like 7 or 8 months. Um, and she goes, "Oh my goodness." She goes, "I've had a contractor that I'm a lawyer, and I've been in fight with this contractor for not doing the right work on my house, and it's very frustrating. And I don't even feel like the lawyer is supporting me, and I can't seem to get anything to move." And I went, "There you have it." She wasn't able to take a step forward. So I was able to clear the energy, do a session for her that night. Um, and the very next day, she texted me. She was like, "Oh my God, I was literally crawling to my office. That's how bad it was." She goes, "I can walk." She goes, "I completely can walk now." And I go, "Good. Did you give the contractor hell for not doing the work in your house?" And she's like, "Yes, I got on my attorney." I go, "Good. Now you're back in your power, right? Now you're in alignment with who you truly are." So it's things like that, right? You're like, "What did I do in the physical?" Well, I released the energy that was stuck there. I brought it to her conscious awareness, and then she was able to be in full alignment with who she is, take her power back, and handle the situation in the physical. Is that a good one?
Yeah, so you basically you give people a chance to get clarity, it sounds like. And I think clarity, once people have clarity in their life, they can literally see where they're going and how they're going to get there.
Yeah, I call it being in touch with your soul intelligence. That's the name. Like that inner knowing, being in touch with the best version of you, your higher self, right? Who you are supposed to be, who you are when you are at your best. And that's truly, when you're in alignment with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose, you're unstoppable and you're intrinsically motivated and you're going to run through the fire to make things happen. And so it's getting people back in touch with that divine part of themselves, their soul intelligence, which is why I love doing this work.
I'll be honest with you, you are truly the spiritual gangster that you I have I haven't heard of this before. I find this super interesting.
Well, cool. Well, it's my own proprietary method. That's probably why you haven't heard about it yet, but I'm excited for people to know about it. And what I really want to do is to teach anybody that is interested in healing, right? Helping other people. Add this to your modality, add this to your coaching practice, add this to your wellness center, have a medical assistant learn how to do this method and add it to your practice as a way to heal people holistically, completely.
That's awesome. Well, listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to chop this up into clips, let people learn a little bit more about you and share it with the world. I am so glad we had a chance to do this. Let's do this again sometime.
Oh my gosh, Chris, I would love it.
We're hosting an event on Saturday. It's a Zoominar where you get a chance to pitch multitudes of podcasters to be on their show. If you can make it, we start at 11:30. The pitching starts at noon. We give everyone a half hour to mingle and network with each other on the Zoominar.
Oh my gosh, that sounds cool. Is it Pacific time or
Yeah, Pacific.
okay, so 11 Pacific. So
Well, 11:30 PST.
okay, right. I just have to translate in my brain because I'm an East Coast girl.
You're on the East Coast?
I am. I'm actually in Tampa.
Oh, awesome. How's Tampa these days?
You know what? We're doing pretty good. If you know the area at all, I'm actually closer to the beach. I'm about 2 miles from the beach. And I live on a golf course, which is extremely peaceful. And I was very fortunate. We had some damage to our condo building that we had to repair the roof a little bit. But, other than that, we were in good shape. So very, very blessed that we came through all those storms everybody was talking about.
Shocking news. I guess I didn't turn everything off.
I know, I heard something.
No, I hate that. I'm like, God, did I not turn everything off?
That's crazy.
And there we go again. All right, well, listen, I'm going to chop this up. It was so great having you. Let's do this again sometime soon. This was awesome.
Cool. So what are sort of next steps in terms of working with you?
Give me 1 second. Let me turn off the recording.